Friends, today I have a very scary story to share with you. It's about Ravi Sharma, a taxi driver, who during his last ride one night, encounters a strange shadow and a mysterious old man in a deserted alley. While he drives his passenger, Vijay, through this eerie path, they face unusual noises and spooky occurrences. Upon reaching Vijay's flat, which he lives in alone, they discover mysterious wet marks inside and feel the looming threat of unknown dangers. By the end, they realize they need to escape the horrifying night, but will they manage to save their lives? Before we dive into the story, I have a small request. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe and like my video. Now, let's not waste any time and begin the story. It was around 11:30 p.m. and I, Ravi Sharma, a taxi driver, was ready for my last ride after a long and tiring day. The light rain and deserted roads of Bangalore created an unsettling stillness. My taxi was headed from Shivajinagar to Yashwantpur, with a young man named Vijay as my passenger. He mentioned that his destination was an old flat on the outskirts of Yashwantpur. During our conversation, he shared that he was a software engineer and that he was late returning home from work. Despite the fatigue in his voice, there was warmth in our exchange. The night grew darker as the rain shifted to a light drizzle. I told him I was originally from Uttar Pradesh and had been driving a taxi in Bangalore for 5 years. Vijay revealed that he had recently moved to the flat and lived alone. As we neared Yashwantpur, the darkness on the road increased. Suddenly, Vijay instructed me to take a left, claiming it was a shortcut. I turned the car, and we entered a deserted lane that felt eerie. No streetlights, no sounds of human life. Curious, I asked Vijay why he lived in such an isolated place. He hesitated before admitting that he had chosen the flat because it was cheap, but sometimes he felt an unsettling presence in the area. I felt quiet, feeling uneasy. Just then, my taxi abruptly stalled in the middle of the street, as if the engine had stopped. I tried restarting it several times to no avail. Vijay suggested we might be low on petrol, but I had just filled up the tank, so I knew that wasn't the case. An odd chill filled the air, creeping into our bones. As Vijay switched on his phone's flashlight to look around, he decided he would have to walk, saying the place didn't feel right. I agreed and we stepped out of the car. As we crossed to the other side of the street, we noticed a shadow moving towards us, but strangely, it was silent. We stood, transfixed, watching the shadow slowly advance in the dark. It was nearly midnight and the cloud cover diminishing the moonlight only intensified the silence. Even our breathing echoed. Vijay touched my arm and whispered, "What could that be?" I was at a loss for words. The figure seemed human, but it walked oddly, floating just above the ground. I suggested it might just be an illusion and that we should move along to avoid further fear. Vijay agreed, and we hurriedly tried to exit the lane. The rain had ceased, leaving a lingering moisture in the air. As we progressed, I sensed a noise behind us. When I glanced back, nothing was there. Perhaps our minds were playing tricks on us. Vijay voiced his concerns, saying he felt unwelcome in his flat, mentioning eerie sensations of being watched, especially when he returned home late. He confessed to never having shared these feelings with anyone, fearing they'd dismiss it as mere imagination. In a hurry to reach safety, we quickened our pace. Just then, an elderly man appeared in front of us. He wore a worn kurta and held a red lantern, his eyes piercingly fixed on us. He asked in a low, forceful tone, "What are you doing out here at this hour?" I explained, "Our car broke down, so we are walking." The old man warned us to leave immediately, saying this place wasn't safe. The moment we exchanged a worried glance, he vanished into thin air. "What just happened?" Vijay asked anxiously. I suggested it was wise to leave, and we exited the lane at a brisk pace. Upon reaching the main road, I tried starting my car again, and this time it roared to life, much to our relief. Nevertheless, my mind was clouded with questions about the shadow, the old man, and the car's initial failure. Our night was far from over, but dread hung over us like a fog. With Vijay silent next to me, I continued to drive, only to catch a glimpse of the same shadow in the rearview mirror. It appeared to be human-shaped but with unnatural movements, unmoving and somehow threatening. As my palms grew moist with sweat, I sped up, keeping my eyes on the road ahead. "Ravi bhai, did you see that?" Vijay asked, trembling. I exhaled softly, "Yes, but I can't make sense of it." "Just don't look back, stay calm." Driving into Yashwantpur was supposed to comfort me, but our fears were only escalating. Vijay suddenly shouted for me to stop, pointing outside the window. It was the same old man again, standing under a streetlight. My heart raced, his steady gaze felt almost predatory, yet he didn't utter a word. "What do we do now?" Vijay asked, shaken. I rolled the windows up and resumed driving, my anxiety mounting with every passing moment. Seeing that old man repeatedly seemed a harbinger of something sinister. He mentioned that this wasn't the first time he had seen the old man. Even before, on late nights after work, this man had warned him to leave. He had brushed it off until now. It was now 12:30 a.m., and the rain resumed as we approached Vijay's flat on the city's outskirts. The atmosphere turned eerie, and unsettling silence lingered. "Let's get you inside," I said. With a reluctant nod, we walked to the building, which looked old and dilapidated. The walls dripped with dampness, and the broken lift meant we had to climb the stairs to the third floor where Vijay's flat was located. Upon arrival, we noticed strange scratch marks on the door as if they were made by desperate nails. Vijay's face went pale. "These weren't here before," he noted with fear. I urged him to open the door. He hesitated but eventually inserted the key. The darkness inside was oppressive, and once the light turned on, it flickered ominously. An icy chill enveloped the room, and a burnt stench permeated the air. When Vijay looked at the floor, he recalled in horror. A set of wet footprints led deeper into the flat. "What is this, Ravi? How did they get here?" Vijay's voice quavered. I had no answers. Suddenly, we heard a muffled sound from within, resembling someone weeping. Panic-stricken, we decided to investigate. I instructed Vijay to stay back while I cautiously approached the sound. It led me towards the bedroom where the door stood ajar. Opening it fully, I peered beneath the bed, and what I saw will haunt me forever. It wasn't human, rather, a shadowy figure, constantly shifting in shape. It was 12:45 a.m. Anxiety surged, and the air grew heavy as panic washed over us. "What is it?" Vijay inquired anxiously. "I can't tell," I stammered. I turned on my phone to illuminate the area, but as the light fell, all I found were more wet footprints that led further into the apartment. Accelerating my heartbeat, I suggested we call for help. "Anyone come by your flat? Friends? Neighbors?" I pressed. "No one," replied Vijay. "I live alone, coming straight home from work." We edged toward the kitchen, following the wet traces. An icy breeze wafted past as we noticed the open window, sending shivers down our spines. "Did you open it?" I asked, confused. "No, I shut it this morning," he replied. Suddenly, a noise echoed from the kitchen's corner. A small utensil had fallen to the ground, without anyone touching it. "This place isn't right," I insisted. "You need to move," I said. "Where will I go?" he whispered. "It's too late to find help." Then came that familiar, grief-stricken cry from the bedroom, now mixed with angry murmurs. "I've heard this before," Vijay admitted, "many nights when I tried to sleep." My heart raced, the tension was palpable. Following the sound again, I opened the bathroom door cautiously. It was dark within, but I detected a suffocating stench. As I scanned the room with my flashlight, the door crashed shut behind me. "Ravi!" Vijay shouted from the other side, panic evident in his voice. Trapped inside, the silence around me felt suffocating. A cold breath brushed against my neck, and when I turned around, no one was there. Frantically, I fought to open the door. "What's happening?" Vijay cried louder. I managed to say, "Something isn't right." Then a dark whisper filled the air. Driven by instinct, I finally burst through and rejoined Vijay, who was trembling. "What happened?" he pressed. "I can't explain it," I murmured. "But we need to leave this place right now." It was 1 a.m. The light rain persisted outside. "Ravi, if it's true, I can't stay here anymore," Vijay said. "Let's find a hotel and speak to someone knowledgeable in the morning." "This is unnatural." As we moved to exit the flat, the lights flickered again, revealing a figure standing ominously behind the door. It looked human yet distorted, and its eyes glowed unnaturally. "Who is that?" I managed to whisper. "I don't know," Vijay replied, terror-stricken. We exchanged glances, feeling paralyzed. "Close the door," I urged him, and as he did so, we backed away, shaking in fright as strange noises echoed around us, someone or something scratching insistently at the walls. Now 1:01 a.m., staying in that flat was becoming impossible. "We must go now," I declared. We rushed through the main door, fleeing down the stairs, only to hear heavy footsteps behind us from the floor above. The sound intensified as we bolted outside. "It's not human, Ravi," Vijay exclaimed. "It's the entity that haunts my flat." We dashed into the street, glancing back just in time to see that same figure watching us from the third-floor window, its gaze unyielding. Realizing the danger of lingering too long, I adamantly suggested, "Let's find a hotel until morning." Vijay nodded solemnly in agreement, and we began looking for an auto. But nothing was in sight, unusual for such a busy area at that hour. Suddenly, we spotted the same old man from before, seated beside a closure tea stall. "You didn't heed my warning," he said, his voice low yet commanding. "Run away, and remember, he will not stop pursuing you." "Who is he?" I urged. The old man was about to explain when we both vanished, stunned and terrified. It was 2 a.m., and we desperately sought police assistance, but the streets remained eerily silent. "Perhaps we should go to the station," Vijay suggested. I reluctantly agreed, and as we approached, the lights flickered out, cloaking everything in darkness. Suddenly, we heard a familiar, hollow voice calling my name from the shadows. "Did you hear that?" Vijay gasped. We stopped in our tracks, paralyzed by fear. "We have to get inside," I managed, urgency igniting my limbs. Inside the police station, there was a semblance of safety. An inspector, Shankar Reddy, noticed our state and asked what was wrong. "Sir, we think someone is following us. Something's not right." His expression turned grave as I narrated our ordeal. The old man, the shadow, the chilling footsteps. He listened intently. "Which area in Yashwantpur?" he asked. "The flat near the old railway track," Vijay replied. The inspector's face hardened. "There have been incidents in that area. An old railway quarter near your flat was abandoned 20 years ago. It's best to keep away from there. Could this stem from some past tragedy?" I queried anxiously. The inspector grimly considered my question, making a phone call to send a couple of constables with us to the hotel, assuring us they would check the flat by morning. Grateful, we sighed in relief, yet the rain continued. "Ravi, what will happen tomorrow?" Vijay asked. I won't return to that flat. I reassured him that the police would assist us, and for now, we just had to get to safety. As we set out towards the jeep, the ominous sound returned, louder and closer now. One of the officers leapt into action, startled. "What's happening?" Suddenly, the shadow appeared again. This time, clear as day, it pointed at us and, with a crash, shattered the jeep's glass. Panic ensued. The officers pulled their weapons. This wasn't mere fear, it was a malevolent presence. "Ravi, it's not going to leave us," Vijay urged, eyes wide with terror. Time seemed to freeze, the rain stopped, and we found ourselves confronting this invisible force. The sound of glass breaking resonated through the night. Inspector Shankar Reddy urged his team to patrol the area. "Keep your eyes peeled for any unusual occurrences," he commanded firmly, but we sensed their underlying fear. "What is this figure?" he asked. I replied, quaking, "We saw it first in the alley and then at Vijay's flat. It's been trailing us." After a tense moment, the inspector concluded, "It's not here to scare you. Maybe your presence stirred something dormant nearby. We need to figure this out." A constable hurried back, reporting strange wet marks across the road. The inspector's brow furrowed as he realized the gravity of our situation. "This place isn't safe. You must leave in a hurry, but we need to uncover the truth." We piled into the jeep and drove to an old guest house, the police having temporarily vacated it. The air felt slightly more at ease, yet dread remained. "I'm never going back to that flat," Vijay stated resolutely. I agreed but warned him, whatever this was, it wouldn't let us go easily. Inspector Shankar Reddy arrived with an old file. 15 years ago, a family lived in that flat, a husband, wife, and their daughter. One night, a fire broke out, killing the parents, and the little girl was never found. It's believed her spirit never left the building. Vijay's complexion turned grey. "Are you saying whatever's happening is tied to that girl?" The inspector sighed heavily. The soul seeks peace. It can only rest when its story is shared. The dawn approached, bringing light but not clarity, nor alleviating our fear. The inspector advised us to rest. Together in our room, we quietly contemplated. Does this soul need our help? Vijay pondered, igniting my thoughts. Maybe this spirit was reaching out for aid, not attempting to frighten us. Perhaps it wished to share her tale. Determined, I resolved, in the morning, we'll return to the flat, not to flee but to confront it. As dawn broke, we set out with Inspector Shankar Reddy and his team. The atmosphere was tense as we re-entered the flat. Familiar wet marks led us again towards the bedroom, but this time we were prepared. Inside the light-flooded room, a figure, just like before, stood motionless, filling the space with an eerie presence. Gathering my courage, I asked, "Who are you? Why are you troubling us?" The figure approached us slowly, its steps deliberate, leaving us in shock before speaking in a soft, innocent tone, "I'm trapped here, please help me." Shocked silence fell. It was a cry for help, not vengeance. Vijay reached out, "Whatever you need, we will help you. Just tell us what you want." She paused momentarily before saying, "I want peace, to be reunited with my family." The inspector responded gently, "If this spirit desires freedom, we must finish her story." A sense of hope washed over us, finally transforming our fear into assistance. We committed ourselves to uncover the mystery behind this lost soul and, hopefully, help her find peace. So, friends, see you in the next video. Thank you.